All right, we actually came online almost on time tonight. We'll give everybody a second to jump on and get spooled up. Good evening, Marie and Angela. All right, we're starting to pile on. We'll just give her about 10 more seconds. We'll get started. Hi, Christine and Shannon. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump off here. So, first of all, sorry for the switch up this week. Just had some scheduling conflicts, so we're going to try to stick to the Thursday nights going forward. But tonight, I'm going to save myself and fellow Eagles fans the pain of watching another round of the NFL draft. So, start off first thing tonight. I want to talk about. I saw it this evening. I dealt with it during the day today. A rumor spooling up on Facebook. I don't want to call it a rumor, a report that was on 105.7 The Hawk, talking about a disturbance, an argument between a customer at a local store, and that the customer threatened to cough on the manager and the employees, and that they were going to give them the COVID, give them the Rona. So we checked with the officers who had gone there. Nobody had reported to our officers that any threat like that was made. And then because we saw, this spooling up on Facebook today, we went back, contacted the manager at the store and the other two employees who were there, just to double check with them. Were any threats made about coughing on you? Were you threatened with, they were going to expose you to COVID? And that was absolutely not the case. So, I can't talk about what people either heard or think they heard, but the victims in this case, the store manager and the other employees who were there, absolutely emphatically were not threatened with coughing or COVID exposure. So I just want to put that one to bed. We'll probably end up having to put a post out on that on this page, so that can get shared around as well. So. Put that to bed. Stats-wise, for our COVID information, we picked up 5 new cases today. If you saw the health department's website, puts us to 174 total cases in town. And they started releasing the Ocean County Health Department death information this week. So we're at 8 deaths of Barnegat residents from COVID-related complications. Want to talk about that total case number, because that question's come up a couple of times. When they say total cases, does that mean we have 174 cases going on in Barnegat right now, or is that the number of cases we had since day one? The answer to that is 174 is the total number of cases we've had since day one. We don't have really a list of the active cases right now, and if you look at some of the information that's out there, there's no real clear definition of what COVID recovered is right now. So I can tell you, if we look at the bigger picture, in New Jersey, we have 102,000 total cases right now, and they classify 95,000 of those as still active cases. So, if we had the same number, then about 93%, or the same ratio, about 93% of our 174 cases would be still active. So, just a quick explanation on total cases versus active cases. Another question that came up last week was a question about the nursing home, Barnegat Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. The state started making that information available to us. So I can tell you that as of April 22nd, they had 19 cases at the nursing home and 1 death associated with that. So that information is available on the state health department's website if you want to go check that out there. Our call volume, what we've been looking at, and our spikes either up or areas where we're declining. It's been consistent since we started having these conversations. So we looked at it. It's tough to compare March to April now, because all of our numbers were beginning to get skewed by COVID as we got into March. So what we started to do now for comparison is compare April of this year with April of last year. So if we compare April 20 with April 19, we see our DV cases, domestic violence, which again has been a problem with that spiking. Our DVs are up about 44% over what they were last April, a number that is certainly too high. Our motor vehicle crashes, we talked about those and the evidence that essentially people are staying off the roads a lot more. Those are down 65% April of this year versus April last year. Month to date, by the way. We didn't do the entire month of April. We're talking to today's date, to the 24th. And then all calls for service through April 24-19 versus April 24 this year are down about 21%. So that's a pretty good drop in calls, around 1,500 calls in the month of April last year, and somewhere around 1,200 and change we're at right now for this year at this point. So that's what we have on the numbers front. As far as compliance with all the executive orders, we've had very, very few problems in town. All our businesses have been working really well with us to stay in compliance. I know that the Sheriff's Department, Prosecutor's Office have been looking at compliance throughout the county, and we haven't had any issues reported by them, nothing that they've seen. The Sheriff's Department is out on the rail trail, just kind of keeping an eye on things, making sure everybody's sticking with the program. So we really haven't had any executive order related problems here, which is great. Talking about the quarantined officers here, as that comes up every week, just an update on that. The one officer who is quarantined is due to clear that this week coming up. So he is not symptomatic at all. And that, again, was someone who had a positive result with a family member in the house. So provided that officer's back this week coming up, we will be back at 100% strength, which is great. Talking to a peer this morning, we were talking about a department up in North Jersey, unfortunately, has got 30% of their agency quarantined right now. So, again, I think, the officers here being so diligent in how they're managing the PPE and the sanitizing the building, the cars, and everything they're doing is having a great impact here on us keeping everybody working. That in turn, like we talked about last week, continues to keep overtime way, way, way down. So that's again a good sign that everything is working out well here for us. That's really it on that front. I just want to talk about before we jump to question and answer. We lost our 7th and 8th police officers in the state of New Jersey to COVID-related illness this week. We had corrections officer Maria Gibbs, 47-year-old mother of 4, who died this week, and Bloomingdale PD officer Gary Walker, 20-year veteran, husband, father of a 12-year-old daughter. Seeing an impact not just in New Jersey, obviously across the country. I believe we're up around 50 officers across the country now that have died from COVID-related complications. So to Officer Gibbs and Officer Walker, their families, their agencies, obviously in our thoughts as everyone continues to battle through this. That's the update. Not a whole lot this week, which is a good sign and a good thing. We'll go ahead and grab any questions that we have on here, and then let you get back to your Friday night. Maybe your 113th washing of Frozen 2. And like we talked about the last couple of weeks, it's always kind of funky, the delays on how things post here. So we're going to run back through everything tomorrow. And if we miss anything, we will circle back with you. All right, so Angela, is it safe to go to the ER at SOMIC? Yeah, this is a big thing. When we look at our first aid calls and seeing they're not really down too much, they're down single-digit percentage. But we know that's one of the concerns out there right now, that people are going to increase their risk if they're having a cardiac event or they're having some kind of a problem because they're afraid to go to the hospital because they don't want to get exposed to COVID. The hospitals have great protocols in place to separate COVID people from everyone else. I would tell you that if it was me or someone in my family that was having chest pains, was having some kind of a medical issue like that, I would absolutely not hesitate to seek medical attention and go to the hospital. I think that's going to be one of the stories that comes out of this as time goes on and they start to really get down into the numbers is increases in deaths because people don't want to get don't want to go get treated for health problems. So absolutely, I would say it is safe to go to any of the local hospitals. Andrew Holmes, are we still pushing out firearms ID cards and pistol purchase permits? That's a great question, and I'm happy to see it. Happy to see it every week. There has absolutely been no delay whatsoever in processing. No stop. Nothing has changed on our part. I can tell you, we have. I want to say last check this morning, it was over 100 in the hopper here application. So we are absolutely continuing to do that all the same way. My understanding is that if there's a choke point in the system right now, like we spoke about last week, it has to do with Identigo, where you have to make an appointment to go get fingerprinted. That may be if there's a slowdown where it is, but we are taking full advantage of the changes that the state made to the regulations. So we're able to send out the ID cards without having to bring you in here and put your thumbprint on the card, and we're able to put those out without having you sign it first. So I know a whole bunch got mailed out early this week. I want to say on Monday, and there's about 18 more that are going to get finalized, processed out on our end. It'll go out in the mail on Monday. So yes, we are 100%. We have not stopped processing firearms ID cards or pistol purchase permits. They're all getting pushed out. Normal business. Okay. We can absolutely wish Alexander a happy 14th birthday. Hi, Alexander. Happy birthday. This is a tough time to have a birthday, without a doubt. But we hope you had a good day and get to have some fun. Raphael, can you speak with business owners and providing them with other CDC guidelines as for their shoppers wearing gloves? Yeah, absolutely. So we've been, again, with the call volume being down, that's given us an opportunity to interface a little more with the businesses and stay on top of compliance with the executive orders. So we are checking those daily. I will absolutely have somebody circle back with Acme on that and make sure that that's all being followed. We've had discussions within the profession. We have them on those morning statewide calls. It's an interesting setup, the way the executive orders are written. It's really up to the businesses to hold people to that and decide whether they're going to, really, I don't want to say enforce, it's not the right word, but whether they're going to hold people to that guidance that they're supposed to wear the mask, supposed to wear the gloves. So we'll absolutely interface where we see there's a problem, and we'll tackle that Acme issue tomorrow. Absolutely. Stephen, great question. Have we been involved in the planning on how to reopen the businesses? Our level of involvement is information exchange when we're on those daily calls. So that's give you a little bit of inside baseball. There's a call. It's called Core Stat, which is essentially a daily call that took place that had to do about crime and crime trends in the state. And it's a great virtual meeting space that allows for exchange of information and data and essentially a real-time conference call with data exchange. So what they did was the state repurposed that call for the COVID epidemic quite some time ago. So every morning at 9:15, we're on that call, sometimes 800 plus people on the call at one time. And what we do is, again, look at what's coming, what are the issues that are 2 weeks out. And as far as any concerns that we have, questions that we have, that's where we post them and have those discussions. So I think the challenge right now is, yes, I know there's discussions on the framework for what opening up looks like. The biggest issue right now, as I'm sure you all can imagine and are tracking, is nobody really knows what that timeline looks like because we got to wait for these numbers to plane out and start coming down. I can tell you here we have our graph for our positive cases in town that we can sit there and watch. And, we're still making that total case creep up. We're still getting somewhere between 5 and 7 positives a day in and day out here. So we're waiting for that, for that true flattening out and for that start down. So I can tell you, yes, as soon as we have the information from the state that, any particular thing is going to be lifted, I think it's actually, you gave me a good reminder. If you go on the state's COVID website, and we'll put the link up when we're done here tonight, you can get a look at the things like the master business list, so to speak, of what businesses are allowed open. And you can even see there's almost, I don't want to say daily, but several times a week they're adjusting that. There was a lot of push for pet groomers, that people wanted pet groomers to be opened up. And they just made that change recently. So pet grooming stores are now open. So it seems like, even though there's no official reopening of things and everything is still, all the executive orders are still in effect, they are constantly making adjustments based on information they're getting on a daily basis. So that was a really long answer to your short question, but yes, we're having those talks, and we'll be ready here to open things up. The second that we get a green light to do so. Sorry, making sure I didn't skip over a bunch as they're popping up here. Can I please get my gun permits? Yes, you can, Brandon. If everything is completed, the second it's sitting in there, it'll be signed off on, and Sergeant Cassidy is sending those out certified mail. So yeah, no, Renee, it used to be only mobile pet groomers. They just changed it, I think probably in the last 24 hours, that now it involves all pet groomers, not just mobile pet groomers. There's some other things that we're tracking that are start, become an issue. Again, everybody, trying to do the right thing, staying at home, and the weather coming up, next month, things warming up, everybody's going to want to be opening their pools. So questions are already getting put in, where does that leave pool stores? And, that's, again, there's going to be constant adjustments to this by the state, I'm sure, as this is going on. That's a good question, Pete. Does it worry us that if things don't get better with COVID, that things are going to get more strict? Honestly, and again, it's just my opinion. No, I think honestly, if you look at overall compliance, I think the town's doing great. I think the state's doing great. When we look at things like those motor vehicle crash rates, it shows undeniably there's a lot less cars on the road. I don't see things, no matter what happens, getting stricter than they are. It wouldn't be the first time I was wrong this week, but no, I think more likely would be that we see a longer time before some of these things start to get relaxed, if people aren't, going about doing things the right way and staying in compliance, so that we can try to drive these numbers down. So, and again, I know from seeing the state conference today that the numbers are planning out as a state. Again, remember, this looks like it's kind of moving north to south. So the numbers up north, going down, not just flattening out, but really look like they're coming down. And then, down in the central and southern part of the state, or the southern part of the state, for those of us that don't believe there's a central part of the state, there's still places that they think haven't peaked yet. Hopefully we're about flattened out here. Driver's license. Good question. Driver's licenses, registrations, they were all extended by the state for 2 months. So if your driver's license expires, next month in May, you get 2 months punched onto that. It doesn't expire until July. Same thing. May, push it forward. May, June, July, and then June, push forward to August. And I'm sure they're going to continue to push that out until we are able to open up MVC and get back to that normal battle rhythm with that. So no, there's no concern if your license or your registration was going to expire this month. There's a 2-month grace period on that right now. Question about the testing site. I see Samantha answering it. Yes, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure what that was. Everything was set up that they were going to move it down to the fire academy in Waretown. I think more because they felt like that was more sheltered area they could do it, maybe because of the setup there. But whatever happened, the 11th hour, they health department either changed their mind or hadn't given it full approval, and it reverted back to OCC. And my understanding is that's where it's staying for now. You should still be able to renew online. through MVC. I just know that they extended it because I don't even know if they have employees working. You renew it online. I don't know if they have somebody working on the other end to process that out and physically put it in an envelope and send it to you. So that may be why it's extended the 2 months. Lisa, another $1 million question. You guys always have the good $1 million questions. What's the plan when we get the influx on New York City and North Jersey residents coming down to the shore? That is a question much better suited for the governor than it is for a small town police chief, right? I don't know what the plan is. I know that I've got to imagine that between being the constitutional republic we are and people being legal homeowners, I don't see any way they're going to stop people from going legally to a home they own. As far as rentals and issues like that, there's already an executive order in place that allows the local government to put limits on things like Airbnbs and rentals. So that's going to be a decision, like a home rule local decision. Those individual municipalities on LBI, up in Seaside, they're going to make those decisions themselves. I'm sure we can all, you can all see what's coming as we get towards, Memorial Day, and that's a time for a lot of local businesses to make their money for the year to stay afloat. There's going to be obviously a lot of attention paid to if and how things can be safely opened up so that people can get along with making a living here. Is the town, Stephen, man, lots of best night of questions tonight. Is the town or county discussing conducting antibody testing? I can tell you a couple of weeks ago, I was having conversations with people in the State Chiefs Association, with other chiefs of police, and talking about doing antibody testing and trying to get antibody testing for our officers. The more we looked into it, we said, okay, let's say we can get, because there is a doctor locally doing antibody testing. Let's say we can get antibody testing for everybody. We go ahead and do that. Well, what does that really tell us? And the answer is that scientifically, medically, there are no sure answers right now. Does it tell us we're immune to it and we can't catch it again? We don't know. Does it tell us that if you have the antibodies, they're going to be good for a month or 3 months or 6 months? We don't know because there's no information there. So when we looked at it, we felt like we couldn't make any real intelligent operational decisions here based on that answer. So why bother, spending the money and pursuing it until there's a little more clear data that shows us, hey, yes, if you have the antibodies, you definitely can't get it again, and you're good for 6 months, for 8 months, or we just retest you in 6 months for the antibodies. If we get to that point, then we will absolutely try to be progressive with that and get on the front end of it and do that. But right now, I just don't know that that information of whether you have the antibodies or don't have the antibodies as an operational decision here as an agency, that doesn't give me anything that I feel is firm enough, empirically to make a decision based on. Hope that answers that. Stan B, good question. Is crime down? It's so tough in a town where crime is as low as we have been here the last couple of years. Any little number of incidents spikes that statistical curve. So we had a run back in the very beginning of this, late February, of an individual over in the Ocean Acres section that went and availed himself of some unlocked cars and some property out of that, and that goes in as a burglary, and just 3 burglaries from 3 cars that he went in. That's more burglaries than we had in a 2-month period the same time last year. So I will tell you, overall, no, crime is not up, and I'll take a look at the exact in the aggregate for this month, whether we're up and down, how much percent. But it's been very, very small moves. We're not having a lot of calls. We're not having a lot of crimes outside of DVs, which is really, I want to say if I look at our last 10 arrests, over the last month, 9 of them are domestic violence arrests. So we're not really seeing a lot outside of DV right now. On the drug front, it's an interesting thing. You look at the informal economy of the drug market. That market is drying up. It's hard. It's hard for the drug dealers to get their supplies. So it's driving prices up. A lot of people short of money right now. So no, overall, I would say if we if we're looking at crime in the aggregate, it's down. A couple of numbers may be up a couple of percentage points, but nothing that's out of the norm for the normal, weekly or monthly swing here. And again, when you say we have our hands full already, it's funny. They've made so many changes here. The officers adjusting this, but in the grand scheme of things, we are slower. We're slower in call volume. Like I said, last April up to this point, we're at about 1,500 calls for service. This month we're at about 1,200 calls for service so far. So you're talking probably 15 calls a day less than we would normally have. So that's giving us actually a little more time to be proactive. And that's the proactive time that we're using to stay on top of checking the businesses a little more, doing compliance checks for the executive order. So far it's working out well. And the fact that our staffing is as good as it is has really been a help too. Testing for antibodies. You got to go through your doctor for that. I know there are doctors locally that are doing antibody testing. And I saw this morning on one of the conference calls I was on that apparently LabCorp is going to start doing antibody testing as well. So best place to point that question is going to be at your doctor because no matter what, you most likely are going to need a prescription for that. Open beaches to locals only. Yeah, that'll be Jennifer. That'll be a decision they make over on the island. Is the Barnegat Beach open? I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The Barnegat Bathing Beach is not closed. That being said, if the beach gets inundated because it's the only thing open around here, that's going to put us in a position from a public safety standpoint that if people aren't maintaining social distancing, the recommendation from us to the committee is going to be to put some restrictions in place there. Again, that's not our decision as a police department, certainly not my decision. That's the governing body ultimately makes that decision. But as I've said in the past, that's what happened with the dock. The Barnegat dock, it was the first nice day we had in like a week. And, we had 40, 50 people piled up on the boardwalk of the dock close to each other. And it just presented a problem going forward. So, but the beach as of now is open. I have not heard, Nick, any talk of unidentified drone activity. I can tell you that we have a drone. We have several drones that we use. So there's a number of reasons you might see us flying them. One, it might be call related if we have somebody or something we're looking for. And two, the officers have to have a minimum amount of a pilot from a pilot perspective, stick and rudder time with the drone. So they're going to be flying those during their shifts occasionally anyway to meet the FAA requirements for keeping their operation certs current. Inspections, Marie, were also extended. So driver's licenses, registrations, inspections. Whether the inspection stations will be up and running next month, I do not know. I do not know. Jackie, is there a place to go fishing? Yep, the Barnegat Bay is open to recreational boating and commercial as well. Mike, yes, what we've been doing with this video every week is it gets posted to our Facebook page when we're done, and it also we upload it to YouTube and put that link out as well. So if you're watching the draft tonight or doing something else, yeah, you can definitely circle back to this. I'm just going to give it one more minute here to see if any other questions pop. We're right in that about 30-minute wheelhouse. That seems to be when the questions dry up here, which is just fine. I see there's still about 140 of you on here. So, are we missing a drone? No, Lindsay, that would be a definite problem if we were missing a drone. That would be a bad day here with the price of those things. If actually, I'll check with the operations commander though, and take a look to see if we have had any reports of a missing one, and if so, I'll reach out for you for that if it's still in the tree there. All right, so we're going to continue. For the foreseeable future, this seems to be working out well. Good platform. It's a lot easier than for me than typing this all out, and you don't have to read a whole long Facebook post, and you can fast forward through me if we're doing this by video. So everybody have a good night and have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll be back to Thursday nights next week. All right. Thank you. Stay safe.